Are we live?
Hey, we want to welcome everybody to what is this, November town hall with the mayor and the chiefs. So we have a limited audience in City Hall with us, and it looks like we have several people online. So today we're pleased to have Chief Tyminski with our fire department, Chief Hessing with the police department, and then of course Mayor Chadwick with the City of Star. So we'll ask each of the chiefs to introduce themselves, and then we'll turn some time over to the mayor. This can be an open format, so please, in the room, we'd love to have you ask questions. Those of you online, we'd also like to have you submit your questions as well. Miss Dana's in the back. She'll be able to take those and we'll read those in.
And I think on Ernest, on yours, you can get the questions there and ask them too. Yep.
Perfect. All right. So we'll do that through Ernest as well. Awesome. Hey, thank you. So Chief Tyminski, we'll turn the time over to you if you please introduce yourself.
You bet. Greg Tyminski, Middleton Star Fire District Fire Chief. We're here for questions. Hopefully people will have some online and in person. I've been the chief here at Star for 10 years. We've been working together with Middleton for the past 4. And I've explained the situation on why we do what we do with both districts a couple of times during these. And if you guys think that it would be good to do it again, we'll do it again. Yeah?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. Want to introduce you first?
Not me. I'm Chief Zach Hessing, Star Police Department. Been the chief out here in Star for just over 2 years now. And just a reminder, we are I work for the Ada County Sheriff's Office, but we are a contract city for police services that City of Star is. And so we do have now 18 commissioned deputies out here in Star, which we did have 13 last year. So we're able to add 5 more this new fiscal year, which we're excited about. I can get kind of into the weeds of how that hiring process is going as we add those additional deputies out here, but we're excited to add them and meet that goal that the city mayor and I talked about on that having 1 officer per 1,000 residents. So we're getting we've achieved that goal, and I'm excited for that. But I can get more into that later on if there's questions about it.
All right. And you guys, I'm Mayor Chadwick. You guys all know me. So we'll just start with you guys first because I tend to take over the meeting. So we'll let you guys start first, and then we'll go with me.
Great. Greg Tyminski again with the Middleton Star Fire District. So I'll kind of go over what it means for the citizens and for our people to work together as Middleton and Star Fire Districts. The Star Middleton Fire Districts work in conjunction with each other to provide the most cost-effective, efficient emergency services as we possibly can. A few years ago, both districts are operated independently with their own boards and their own budgets, but we work together. Our commissioners in Star are Jared Moyle, Tim Murray, and Steve Martin. Our commissioners in Middleton are Liz Bolts, Jackie Potter, and Tim O'Mara. Excuse me. Together, we serve 165 square miles. 110 of those square miles are in Middleton's district, which encompasses the city of Middleton, Canyon County, and some of Gem County. And then Star is 55 square miles, which takes up the city limits of Star, a portion of the city limits of Middleton, a portion of the city limits of Eagle, portions of Ada County. So together it's 165 square miles. Currently we operate 3 fire stations. We have 1 fire station in Star that everybody seems to be pretty familiar with. It's a big building. We have the second one, Station 52, which is on Kingsbury in Middleton, but it's in Star Fire District. And then we have Station 53, which is in downtown Middleton. Next year, we will be adding Station 55 on Floating Feather and Plummer between Plummer and Pollard on Floating Feather to add staffing. And then also adding another one in Middleton, Station 54 on Harvey between Galloway and Goodson. We'll staff those as we have funding for staffing. The fiscal responsibility of the boards by putting us together, which is the fire chief, a district administrator, assistant district administrator, administrative assistant, a deputy chief of operations, a deputy chief fire marshal, saved each one of the districts about $350,000 each. So that's what we're saving in personnel costs just by operating together. Shared resources. The Star Fire District built Station 52 out on Kingsbury and Middleton in 2011. We were able, by working together, to staff that in full-time in 2021. Before that, we just leased the building out and ran a maintenance division out of it. The Kingsbury Station, the 60% of the calls that it takes are secondary calls in Star and in Middleton. So what that means is there's already a call happening in one of the two first due areas of Station 51 and 53, and the second call comes in, and they take that second call, or they go to help and assist the first engine on one of the calls. So a majority of the calls that Station 52 responds to from Kingsbury is to Star and Middleton to assist. In 2023, January, we were able to add 3 battalion chiefs. And that was a project that we did together. Budget-wise, we weren't able to hire, it takes 3, 1 per shift of a battalion chief. We weren't able to hire 3 in one district or the other. So we went ahead and got 1 for Middleton and 2 for Star. They're housed at a Station 52. They're the supervisory shift personnel that run with the crews and operate and manage the crews every day. Line staffing between the 2 districts, we have 11 firefighters on shift every day and 1 battalion chief, which makes 12. They're on 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Also, training facility. We have a training facility located at the Kingsbury Station in Middleton, Station 52. Out back, we have a training facility. I'm sure people have seen that. That helps our crews not have to travel to other jurisdictions to do training. We're able to come to that joint facility, which sits dead center between Middleton and Star, and do training right there together. And it keeps our crews more available and not having to go out of town to a different training facility to do joint training. Apparatus. We all share apparatus. We have a 107-foot ladder truck that's stationed at Station 51 that was purchased by the city of Star with ARPA funds. We have 3 engines, 1 at each fire station, 51, 52, and 53. We have another reserve engine that's being refurbished right now. The reason that we're refurbing an engine is that the prices of fire engines have gone up in 2 years about $300,000. 2 years ago, we were able to purchase 2 engines together, 1 for Middleton and 1 for Star, that cost us about $600,000. Today, the same engine costs $900,000, and it'll take up to 4 years to get. So we went the route of a refurbish. We have 1 training engine that stays at the training grounds. We have 3 brush trucks, 1 at each fire station. We have 2 water tenders, 1 at Station 51 in Star, 1 at Station 53 in Middleton. We have a water rescue boat that we got on a grant from Firehouse Subs that's stationed at Station 51. And then we have 5 command vehicles that respond from either home or from each one of the stations. In the past year and a half, we have increased our level of EMS service. So we belong to a system called Access. It's Ada City County's emergency services system that we all belong to. And we went to the administrative board and then to the executive board asking them if we could increase our level of service from basic EMT to advanced or EMT with optional modules, which lets us do life-saving procedures and IVs and airways prior to ambulance arrival. That training has started, and should be finished up in the first quarter of next year. Other information, things we do together to save our taxpayer dollars is we do joint purchasing. Being two small organizations together, we're a little bit larger. We're able to buy equipment, turnouts, air packs, so on and so forth, all the stuff that we need to be safe on scene. We're able to buy it more, so we get discounts, and that's very helpful for us because the equipment that we purchase is extremely expensive. And then the other problem that fire districts have, cities have, I mean, I'll just say all taxing entities have right now, is House Bill 389. In Middleton's budget, like I said, they're separate budgets. Middleton's budget, they have so far since House Bill 389 has went into effect, have lost $270,000 of budget authority. And Star Fire District has lost $1,050,000 in budget authority since that has gone into effect. As of today, Station 51, that's a Star station, has responded to 1,287 calls. Station 52, that's the one on Kingsbury, 580 calls. Station 53 in downtown Middleton has responded to 1,141 calls. Anybody have any questions?
Any questions for Chief online or anything? Anybody pose a question, Mr. Ernest, on there for him? Nothing? Miss Dana? No? How about you ladies? Any questions for Chief? Okay. All right, Chief Zach. Chief Essing.
All right, Chief Essing here. I'll just kind of go through how the contract works, just a reminder of that. I know I've talked about it in the past. I'll kind of walk through that and then where we're at for staffing levels for the Star Police Department and how we're doing on hiring there. So the city of Star is a little different than other police departments because we are a contract city with the Ada County Sheriff's Office. There's some definite pros to that I'll walk you through why that's a good position for the city of Star to be in. So I'm a lieutenant with the Ada County Sheriff's Office assigned as a chief of Star here. We currently right now, we have positions that are open because of the new fiscal year coming up October 1 this year that we're hiring for. Last year we had a total of 13 commissioned deputies in Star. It was including myself as one of those, and then I had 2 sergeants and 4 patrol deputies on each side of the week with 2 detectives. We, going through this fiscal year, we're able to have an additional 5 that we hired for that. So what's unique about this year is with that 18 commission that we have now, which we have, we're probably knocking on the door. Last April, we had 17,690 was the population of Star. We're probably over that 18,000 mark. I know when I sat down with the mayor a couple of years ago, we made a goal to be at that 18 deputies per 1,000 residents. We want 1 deputy. That'd be nice to have 18. One deputy per 1,000 residents. And what that does for us is the national average is actually at 2.7, with the Northwest average of being at 1.9 commissioned officers per 1,000. I feel very comfortable with the city of Star being at 1 commissioned deputy per 1,000 because of the fact that we have great people that live around here, and we don't have the crime rate that other cities have. But we also have the full power and force of the Ada County Sheriff's Office behind us to help us as well. And that's part of that contract that we have. With the contract too comes with the ability to reach out at any time and ask for assistance. Whenever something big happens, either here in Star or close by, I can reach out and ask the sheriff and the Ada County Sheriff's Office to come in and help us out. And we know each other very well over there. I have meetings once a week over there with the command staff and talking about the needs of the city of Star. So it works out really well. Talking about the hiring section of that. So we just added 1 more deputy. His name's Lonnie Neal. He's brand new, starting here in Star. He's not brand new to law enforcement. He's been in law enforcement quite some time, has worked the North County section of Ada County for quite a long period of time. He came over, joined on the patrol team, and we took John Cleveland, who's one of our deputies, and put them on our brand new traffic enforcement team that we're calling the Problem Oriented Police Team. So the POP team is what that stands for. Unique thing about that is that's the first time the city of Star has had just a purely proactive team out there looking for any traffic violations. They also can be used to, if we get a rash of vandalism that's occurring, he can come out during that time and help our property crime detective come out, start doing field interviews and looking around for that. So we have him out here right now. We're trying to get another one as we fill these positions. So again, there's a total of 5 positions that we're having. There's 2 for that POP team I just talked about. There's 1 person crimes detective. He just started out here as well. So there'll be actually 2 person crimes detectives that'll be working the city of Star. We're dividing that up into to where we'll have a violent crimes detective. So he'll do all the domestic violence, any aggravated assaults, any of those type of things. He'll investigate those. And then we have Ashley Turner, who's the other person crimes detective, been out here for I think coming up on 3 years. That she will do a lot of the child enticement cases and the more kind of sexual oriented cases that we get out here. So we're kind of divided that way. So that's the detective. So there's the 3 positions, and then we are adding 2 to patrol that we'll have. We're hoping to have those positions all filled through the hiring process by January. It kind of depends on, again, getting them through training. So kind of walk you through that. The unique thing about having a contract with us is we have the ability to kind of pick through the sheriff's office. We open up an opening in Star, and we open it up to all Ada County deputies, and they can put their names in to come out to Star. And when we did open that up, we ended up having quite a few that wanted to come out here to Star. So we had the opportunity to pick through the ones that we wanted here that tested well. The issue is backfilling their current positions to get them here. So that's why it takes 3 or 4 months to get them here. Now, if we were an average police department that didn't have the contract, if you can imagine putting some of these through training and getting in the seat of an SUV where they're actually doing the job of law enforcement or police, it takes about 10 to 12 months. With the contract, I usually can get that done in about 5 to 6 months because we already have quite a few that are going through the academy that we can select through that. So it cuts about the time in half, which we appreciate, and get them out here. I know I talked a little about the goals that we've made here as a city. One of those being 1 officer per 1,000. And in order to accomplish that is we are a very proactive policing police department. We like to get out. We like to make those traffic stops. We like to get out and visit with the public. I've seen quite a few people reach out and thank us for being at the Star Elementary School. We do like getting there, seeing the kids, giving out stickers. We go through a lot of stickers as a police department. We really enjoy getting out and seeing them. Just to give you kind of an idea, just this month, we've had a total of about 1,932 calls. For the month of September, had about 1,932 calls we went to, and 1,622 of those were proactive calls. So the difference between a proactive call and what I call a citizen's call for service. So a citizen calls for service anytime somebody calls and requests a deputy be there. So if you pick up, either you call 911 or you call the non-emergency dispatch number and ask, hey, I've got a problem. I need a deputy here to help me with this problem. So that's what I call that citizen call for service. We went to 310 of those. But the proactive calls are calls that can go from anywhere from traffic stops. It can be citizen assist stops, just so where we stop and we talk to a citizen that looks like they might need help. We are doing extra patrols around the construction sites, doing construction checks to make sure stuff isn't being stolen as houses being built. Even driving through your neighborhood, getting out of the car and walking through a neighborhood. We can do neighborhood walks as well. And so those are all the proactive calls that we're taking on. And I think that really helps with our other goal of making sure that we keep Star one of the safest places in this valley to live in. I haven't seen the numbers this year, but last year we were the lowest crime rate for any city. Our goal as a city is to stay below 18 crimes per 1,000. We're below that at this point as well. We're doing a good job in keeping that goal, and I think being proactive helps with that. So, and I want to make sure that proactive it's getting out and just getting to know the public. It's getting out, getting to know the business owners. It's getting out and talking to kids. You'll see at times the STAR deputies either dressed like I am currently, or in a high vis shirt, which is kind of a bright green shirt. They'll get out and they'll play basketball with them. They'll get out and they'll talk to the kids at the skate park. They get to know their names. That to me is community policing, and that is proactive policing, where when they know there's a problem, I love when they can call Star Police and ask for a deputy by his name. I think that's the type of police department we want here in the city of Star. And I think that's the police department we have currently. We want to keep it that way. So the other thing that I just want to bring up too is the response times. That's the third goal I want to talk about. Is our response times are very important because seconds matter when people need help. Our goal here for the city is to be under 4 minutes. And we currently at about 2 minutes and 14 seconds. When you call 911, within 2 minutes and 14 seconds within the city of Star limits, we will be there to help you. I think that's huge. And that's one of the great things about having patrol deputies out there and about, that when somebody calls for help, we're coming, and we're coming fast. So I appreciate that. And I'll take any questions anybody might have.
Chief, we got a question online. You mentioned different types of policing. The question is, can you elaborate a little bit more on some of the most common types of citations or infractions that the deputies encounter? And can you give any insight into the numbers of those types of citations and infractions?
So I know probably the biggest one is speeding, especially with Highway 44 coming through. When we luckily we've been able to change that to where it's I got 4 lanes going through now instead of just the 2. The issue that came up was it did open up that people thought it was a speedway a little bit. Still 25 miles an hour through downtown Star. It has not changed. And some people think it's 35 or 40 miles an hour. So we are writing citations for that. I don't know exactly the number of citations that we're writing. I know that it has gone up in the last month or 2, but a lot of it has to do with education too. So I never I leave it up to the deputy's discretion on if he's going to write a citation. A lot of the times you'll see the deputy will educate the public rather than cite. And I think that again comes down to that it's important that people understand what the speed limits are, because even through the neighborhood, it's 20 miles an hour unless otherwise posted. And some people don't understand that. So we're stopping them and educating them on that. We do write seatbelt tickets every once in a while. It's another citation I've seen come across here at Star Police, and that's majority of the citations that we're seeing on traffic anyways.
Okay. Hang on, we'll give you the microphone here.
Big thank you to our first responders and both chief and staff. Their involvement and attendance all over town is greatly appreciated. Questions? Question 1, does police and fire see more activity, calls, etc., when there is a full moon?
When there's a
Good
full
question.
moon.
There's another question. Can we raise speed limit to 30 to 35 through town?
So I'll not sure about the full moon one. I'd have to research and find out if there's a link or correlation there. But with the speed, that's something that's up to ITD. They'll have to figure it out and go from there. It's not something that we set as a Star Police or the City of Star. ACHD and ITD are the ones that set the speed limits on our main roads. That'd be a question, or if the public wants to get together and find out how to do that. I'm sure ITD would reach out to me to ask my opinion on it, on what we should do there. But other than that, it's kind of more up to those departments to figure out the speeds.
Part of what they do is they do a speed study out there on the highway to determine what the average person's going. But there's a whole process in the state that got changed here a couple years ago because they were doing a speed study and they bagged it. So we don't know what that new process is in its entirety. We'll have to figure that out. I don't even know if the state really understands what the process is for that yet.
Mr. Mayor, we had a good comment come in online from one of our viewers that said, just echoed that a minimum of 1 officer per 1,000 people is an excellent way to keep our crime rate low. So it was just a kudos to that goal that we have there. And Ernest, did you have another question?
Question online. Are you seeing an increase in violent crimes with the increase in population in Star?
You know, we've seen there's been a small increase in violent crimes. I would never say we have a violent crime problem. But we have seen a little more domestics come up. You know, the biggest concern when it comes to the violent crimes is the mental health. And it's throughout the whole county. It's not just Star that we're seeing it. We're seeing a lot more people who are calling in that are suicidal. Some are homicidal and suicidal at the same time. They do put the public in danger when they go out in public, and then they have the thoughts of hurting themselves or hurting others. And so we have seen a huge increase, and it's not just Star. It's CUNA, Eagle, Meridian, Boise, all of Ada County. We get more calls, suicidal calls, especially since 2020. That I've being in law enforcement the last 15 years. I've been in law enforcement. It's a huge problem. It's the mental illness of that, the mental health side of that. So, and the one thing that we have that the Ada County provides for us is that we have a CIT team. So it's a crisis intervention team. There's 2 commissioned deputies, and now we actually have 2 clinicians that are on that team. They're trying to help out the best we can. We just had a couple. You can see the reports I put out, how many mental hold cases we have. We're a big push on trying to figure out how to help with people with these mental health issues. So that's where the increase I'm seeing in violent crimes is coming from, more of that area, that and domestic situations.
I just want to add, I'm going to throw a number. I think it's 2 to 3 probably suicidal calls a week that are here in Star that our officers are going on. So we do have a mental health problem, and I just ask everybody to check on your neighbors and family and stuff like that and get them the help that they need. It's not taboo really anymore to get that help. Just get that help so we don't have those issues, because it puts our officers in a bad situation out there as well. When you have somebody that could have got help that gets themselves into a situation where it's a life or death situation with them. And so just look out for each other and try to take care of it internally with your family if you can.
And just to piggyback off what the mayor said there too, there's a lot of resources, especially recently within the last year or two, of resources that have come available for people who are going through hard times. And I'd encourage anybody that might think a family member or a neighbor might need help to reach out, and we give those resources. And you can do it anonymously, where I can give you a list of resources that you can have to offer to them too. So it's definitely something we're trying to find solutions to. And I just ask that if anybody has any questions about that, I'd love to talk to them.
Another one, Ryan?
So, Chief, can you just mention the report that you talked about in the numbers? We published that at the city. Can you just mention where that's published and how the public can access those same numbers, please?
Yes, I know it's on the City of Star website. I believe you go underneath the police of that one. So you go underneath police and you'll see, you can go, we've been putting this report out for 2 years come this January. And it's a pretty detailed report of exactly what the crime rate is, the crimes we're going to, the call types, those type of things. And so we're constantly updating it. We're usually about 10 days behind on the month, so we don't have the month of October yet. It's only the 1st of November, but it will be posted here soon. So yeah, you can absolutely go on the city's website and find it through there.
Thanks, Chief.
It'd be interesting. I just want to ask Chief Tominski, just to follow up on the same question that he asked, do you see an increase in calls, and what kind of calls on the fire side with our increased population? Because that'd be interesting to know too.
Well, we do respond with police to most of those calls. So, I mean, I echo what Chief Hessing says, is that when we go out, we don't necessarily go directly into the scene, or we stage outside until the officers ask us to come in. So it's not exactly the same, but we do respond to, I'd say 90% of the same calls that they do. We respond together.
Okay. Any other questions on there for these guys at all? Do you have a question? Okay, hang on one sec. We'll get the microphone over to you.
So approximately 2 months ago, there was a domestic violence incident in a subdivision that resulted in drones, shutting down the neighborhood. Where I believe there was confusion about that incident. And I was just curious what you can comment on as far as what the confusion was that resulted in shutting down the neighborhood. Did it have to do with shots being fired from a separate incident at the same time that a domestic violence incident was going on? And then I also heard that you lost a drone in that incident. I was just curious if you ever recovered it.
So I'm trying to think, we've had a couple of incidents between us and Eagle. And did that take place in the city of Star, or was that Eagle, the city of Star?
It's the city of Star.
So I know in one incident, anytime if we're responding to a domestic call, and if we get there and the suspect's taken off on foot, then we'll usually lock down a neighborhood so we can keep people inside as we're trying to find the suspect until that time. So I don't know exact particulars on that one you're talking about.
It resulted in 10 police cars shutting down a neighborhood, drones in the air. It was, I mean, I can say the subdivision, if you'd like, it was Heron River.
Okay.
But we had heard at the same time, there was another residence where a person passed away. And so it was reported, or our understanding was that it was reported as maybe shots fired, which heightened the domestic violence situation, and the shots were not related to that incident.
Right. Yeah, we haven't had, and that is that there wasn't shots fired with the domestic. That there wasn't shots fired or exchanged at that time. I do know that we've had some incidents of suicidal incidents over in that area. So I'm guessing that's probably what it is. What I'd like to do, I'd like to look it up, and that way I'm not giving you any false information or going that way, but I can give you definitely more information on it. Just have to find out exactly which one it was. You said it was about 2 months ago? Okay. Yeah, I do know that there's no shots fired during the domestic, but I don't know the rest of that. So I'd have to find out about the drone as well and see what that, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, any more questions online, Ms. Dana or Ernest?
So this is going to be for Chief Tominski. So I was at the store the other day with my son, and I see that they're selling fireworks for Halloween. They have them like with the little jack-o'-lantern faces and the ghosts on them. Is there a specific rule in Star for when people can light fireworks? And I know that because people were mentioning the other day that there was a huge ruckus where there was a loud sound that people heard in the city of Star. And some people said, they didn't know what it was. So I'm just curious, like, what are the rules for the fireworks? And do you know what that loud noise was?
I do not know what the loud noise was. I did hear about it, but it wasn't something we responded to, so I don't know what it was. As far as fireworks go, you can do them on the 4th of July, and you can do them on New Year's Eve. All fireworks that go more than 5 feet off of the ground are illegal in Star and in unincorporated Ada County. So the little ones that they're selling at the grocery store are probably little pop type ones that don't go 5 feet over, off of the ground. So they are legal. They're safe and sane fireworks. I'm not familiar with if Victor has done inspections on the sale of those fireworks. I know coming up to January 1st for New Year's Eve, there'll be some stands set up, typically. I don't know if they got any applications yet, but those will all be inspected and make sure that they're selling proper fireworks. And then outside of Star in Canyon County, there is no limit on what a vendor can sell. So we'll go and do an inspection, and it's strictly a safety inspection to make sure that they're got all of the equipment that they need, the fire extinguishers, the metal cans, so on and so forth. But we can't tell them what they can and can't sell. And Canyon County doesn't stop them from selling anything.
Yeah, state law dictates when fireworks can be sold and when they can be lit off, basically, and that's what we follow. on there. That's how it's written in our code. Some of these pop things, like you pull the string and it pops. I don't know what kind they were selling or whatnot, but it does dictate that, and we respond to them if we know. That one that was loud, apparently I'm the only deaf one in my house, so I couldn't hear it. Everybody else heard that same explosion, and it went like wildfire, like at 11 o'clock at night or something, right? We had no idea what that was, and I contacted chief, and they didn't get a call on it either, I don't believe, on it. So it's kind of interesting what that was. I'm thinking someone had an M1000 or something that was really, really loud and lit it off.
Chief, we had Chief Kaminsky, we had a question come in online, and it's with regards to recently we experienced the gas pipe incident. And the question is, what were some of the lessons learned from that situation?
That's a great question. So that was a Williams pipeline. That pipeline runs from Canada to New Mexico. The line that was penetrated was 22-inch line, and at that current moment had 700 pounds of pressure in it. We learned a lot. We learned that Williams pipeline, that was the fastest response that they had ever seen. And from the fire service, from the emergency, from police, emergency management, from their folks. And, we were when we found out what it was, Williams pipeline gave us the direction of what we had to do. We had to evacuate everybody within 3 miles. So you can imagine how many people that would take to do that. So some of the lessons.
That's a 3-mile radius.
Yeah, 3 miles from that incident each direction.
Yeah.
So they started doing that with law enforcement. They got state police. They had Ada County, Canyon County, Star, Middleton, and they came from everywhere. It was very fast response. Started blocking off roads. So some of the things that were learned is some of the text messages that went out to the public were, get your animals and leave. So we took a lot of phone calls at the fire department. There was 3 of us left at the fire station in Star, and the phone never stopped ringing. I know we had to miss some calls, but it was the people working like in Boise that wanted to drive home and get their cats and dogs. Like, you can't get in there. The roads are blocked off. If your animals are inside or whatever, everything is fine. We finally got to the point where we told people just to shelter in place because we couldn't get enough people to make that radius. I want to say we're going to have a true incident action review of this incident coming up with Williams Pipeline. But I want to say that I heard it was 24 minutes from the time it was penetrated to the time those lines were shut off, which was fast. Those lines get shut off manually and electronically. They narrowed that radius down to a mile each direction after they got them shut off. But the reason that they didn't narrow it down to the incident was the controls for those electronic valves are in Seattle or Washington someplace. I think they said Seattle. And they have to make sure that those are locked out and tagged out so somebody doesn't walk by and say, oh, that's turned off. I wonder why. And turn it back on. And, without having this after action review, I don't know the exact details of the numbers. But after that, those lockouts were done at their main place in Seattle. Then they said, then we can be isolated to the incident. And I think the whole thing went on for maybe an hour and a half total. And then everybody was good to go back to their residences. So I would say what I learned from answering telephone calls is there is a lot of in-home care centers that I personally didn't know about. I don't know if our organization or police organization knows about them. So we have to learn more about where those are. Private schools, because some people call and say, we have no way of getting these people out of a house to evacuate. It's like, where do we get a bus? And then, I mean, for the elderly people as well that were in these care homes, and then the private little schools that are out in the country area that, you know, have 5 or 6 kids or whatever, you know, that their parents drop them off there. They don't have a way to transport them, you know, to a safe place if an incident like that happens. So those are all the things we're going to talk about in the after action review with Williams Pipeline, emergency management. I mean, we'll invite everybody that was involved in the incident, including the city of Star, because I mean, I was talking to the mayor the entire time. We're trying to figure out where we can put people, if we can use a school. Happened to be a day that they were doing parent teacher conferences, so school wasn't in, or at least the middle school wasn't in. So can we shelter people there? You know, obviously there's churches that we can shelter people at, but it was a big deal. And we just have to be thankful that it was windy that day and it dissipated all the gas and it didn't ignite.
And I'm gonna add on to that real quick, Ryan, before you ask that question. On a city standpoint, we do have an emergency management plan that we have in place that we activate, and this is where it comes in. Where do you put the kids? You know, the people, not just kids, but everybody at schools, wherever, right? Some of the things that we discovered, as a city, is we've always worked with Ada County Emergency Management, but we never worked with Canyon County Emergency Management. So now we have this crossover effect that we got to figure out how to make sure that both sides are working together through this whole process in a situation like that, regardless if it's in the city of Star or in the county, because it could be the same thing in Gem County, right? I mean, it's not too far down the road for us. So we got some of these things to work out as well. But we were all in communication. I know Chief was out of town at the time, and Sergeant Steele stepped right into the role and was really trying to communicate stuff. So we didn't lose any command structure there. It just stepped right down to Sergeant Steele, and he contacted me as well. And we're trying to work on our messaging with Miss Dana to get out to the public. I know some people said, I've heard comments that, well, we should never shut everything down. That's just not right. I'm like, well, wait a minute. We're dealing with a 22-inch gas line that can cause some serious problems if it does light, right? And so, yeah, we are going to shut stuff down. That is the time that the government's got to protect the people like that. And unfortunately, some people don't believe in that, but we're going to do the right thing to make certain people are protected in our communities out here, and our first responders are protected when they're responding to that stuff up there. So, okay. What's your follow-up question?
Yeah, there was just a follow-up question to that, and then I'll come over to this other question. The question was, do we know the exact cause of the breach to the pipeline? And was it something where they had contacted Digline, or had they not contacted Digline? That's the question.
My understanding is that they did not contact Digline, and they were just cleaning a pond or a ditch area up and didn't realize it was there or forgot it was there. I don't know the details of that, but it was accidental. It wasn't on purpose.
It wasn't on purpose. Well, and I think the part of that question is that pipeline now clearly marked, and are there any others that we need to be aware of? Well, yeah, they are clearly marked. They got the yellow pipes and stuff that come out of the ground that tell you where those pipelines are. We have do we have more than the 2 up there on the north?
So there's 2. There's another line right next to that line.
Yep.
Another, as it was 18 or 24 inch. I don't remember exactly what they said. It runs right next to it, and they are marked. I don't know the distance between the marks. I know that we have, like, up behind Hillsdale, when we have grass fires in that area up there, we have to have a Williams Pipeline person come to make sure that we can drive our apparatus and the dozer. When Eagle brings a dozer over, we can drive over in certain areas, or certain areas that they won't let us drive over it. So even fighting fire, we have to be careful of that line, even though it's deep in the ground. Still got to be careful not to interrupt it. And there is also a Chevron line that comes right through here. I mean, it's
A Chevron line runs right behind Eagle High School too, over there in Eagle. Just so everybody's aware, it's a pretty decent pipeline there. But I mean, it's a lot of lessons have been learned. You know, they're clearly marked. Just so everybody's aware, the gentleman that hit that line, He did not die. He survived, thank goodness, right? And lesson learned for him on that as well. So, I mean, just be thankful for that, that we didn't have any fatalities in a situation like that could have been very, very bad for all of us. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So most of the question has been answered with that. Two pieces. Do you know how deep in the ground that line was? And was the gentleman gravely injured or just a minor injury?
So I don't know the depth. I didn't go up there and I didn't ask him what the depth was. I have a picture. It looked to me like it was 6-7 feet in the ground. The person was able to have a family member take him to the hospital to get checked out. They were released within 30 minutes. It's
Being lucky.
pretty interesting. I don't know if the Williams Pipeline will release pictures of like what the track hoe that hit it, and the little pictures here and there that I've seen. It's amazing the amount of dirt that is stuck. I mean, all the windows are broke out of it, and the dirt that's stuck to it almost looks like when you watch a show that has a lot of ice buildup. It looks just like that, as you can see where the air has blown the dirt, and it's pretty impressive. And the pipe, how far it went. I mean, I was told that a piece of that 12-foot section of pipe went 1,200 feet.
And there was no fire. So everybody is aware of that. There was no fire. It's high pressure line. And I learned something too from them based on that high pressure line. That's why they worry about it when it goes up in the air and dissipates. That's where you get the fire. So I guess I'm going to bring this up too. Somebody went online with a drone that was flying over the top of that thing to try to show some pictures and videos. Don't do that. You're creating problems. Keep the drone out, because if that truly dissipates up there into a gaseous situation where that drone lights a fire, that could cause a huge problem for everybody. I know everybody wants to be first on the scene to show their stuff, but don't. I mean, let the first responders take care of the situation first, right? And then we can show the stuff.
And that one more comment on that gas line that runs that distance. We had a lot of phone calls of, I can smell natural gas. There is no smell. It is odorless. They have not injected the odor into it at that point. So there is no smell. With some of the phone calls that we got a lot of is, I can smell gas at my house. What should I do? Well, if you smell gas, it's a different issue because you can't smell this. They haven't injected the odorant into it yet.
Yeah, the odor gets injected by the end users that ship it out on the lines, correct?
Yeah, there's a station down by the Kingsbury fire station where they inject odor into it.
So, okay.
Mr. Mayor, this might be a good time to plug 811.
Dig line?
Our dig line number.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
there's-
anybody that plans on digging anywhere in their properties or anywhere, make sure you call 811. Give them time to come out and mark the water, sewer, gas lines, power lines, all that kind of stuff. So you don't create a situation for yourself and for others. And it's free. It doesn't cost you a dime. Okay. Good plug. That's a good one too, because that was a big line that went. Any other questions online right now, Ernest or Dana? Nothing online? Okay, so we'll go on to the city side here real quick. We did have this we've talked a lot about different things, but just so everybody's aware, this Highway 44 widening that we did is a big win for the city. It has reduced sitting in traffic big time going west through town. Even coming through town going east in the morning, it's reduced it until you get down here when the plumber light turns red, right? I believe we have all of our markings done and our signs are up now all the way along that. And I believe our concrete, what do you call those, medians that are in the middle of the roads have all been painted and whatnot. So we're hoping, we're really hoping that we can get some legs with the environmental study with ITD for the remainder of this section to Highway 16. Hopefully get that done this next year, but I'm not holding my breath for that. Right now they were slated for 25, but they're trying to push it up to 24. And remember, the reason why that all got delayed is because what Middleton did, by getting rid of their bypass and throughout the entire environmental study that was funding that project on there. I was told by ITD that the overpass at Highway 44 and 16 is probably going to go out to bid this next spring. So this next year, you're probably going to see some construction down at 44 and 16. Highway 16 is going to go over Highway 44. So there's going to be some delays and there's going to be some challenges when that happens. But like my understanding is that was supposed to be done around the same time as the connection to the freeway is done, which will make it really nice for us out here in the long run. There has been some questions about Star Road and what we got Star Road's improvements put in the new 5-year integrated work plan for ACHD, which includes widening the bridge. In 2025 is when they're going to start the concept study in that 5-year plan. Thank goodness. Originally, it was going to be 2035, and we got them to move it all the way down to 2025. So we took 10 years off of that project. That again, when they do that widening, and it's going to be painful for everybody here in town going north and south, especially kids going to school. Hopefully, by the time they start working on that, Highway 16 is done, so kids can get to Waihee High School pretty quick with the off ramp up there. Okay. I'm trying to think. My mind just went blank. Been running around today. Oh, what? Go ahead.
I was just going to remind you about our survey that we have.
Yes, I was trying to think of that. So right now we're going through a code update in our city, and so we put a survey out for the citizens to go out there and provide some input on what they would like to see for some code updates in our city. It's not a bubble where you pick what we're saying. It's free form. You write what you want to see. I think we had about 13 or so. Oh, good. We're up to 36 now comments on that, which is fantastic. Chickens are on that. That's a pretty popular topic. We've been working on the chicken thing for a while. I know that there was a House bill that was introduced this last year to try to prevent HOAs from limiting chickens. It never made it out of committee. So even if as a city approves a chicken ordinance, just so everybody's aware, your HOA still dictates if you're going to be able to have chickens or not at this point. Okay. So I encourage everybody, please go online. There's a link on our news page on our city website at staridaho.org on where you can go and make your comments be heard on that. And it's everything. We're talking chickens to the zoning ordinance codes, building codes, to things that can help chiefs do things, right? As far as enforcing different laws and whatnot here in the city. Did you have something else, Dana?
One of the comments I was seeing had a lot to do with the look and feel of the commercial area, and what are you doing to?
Yeah, so
design
one of the
standards?
comments that's been coming through on that is what is this, the look and feel of our commercial area. We've actually just a couple years ago put in place a architectural overlay for our commercial area called the Mountain Modern, and you can get that on our planning and zoning page and actually look that up and see what that says that it has to be. There's several components that have to be in these buildings, and these new buildings being built have those components that are in there. Now, do we need to make some changes? It's very possible we need to make some changes. So take a look at the code and what you think and get some suggestions. I'm sorry, not the code, the design guidelines, and get some suggestions on how you think you want that changed. And we're more than willing to entertain those and talk about that. On November 15th, I think, is when the city council's, whatever the Tuesday is, the 14th, the city council is going to do a workshop in here to talk about all these comments from the public and the comments from themselves and the things that we have discovered as time goes on the updates that we want to see. And then in December, we're going to have a public hearing on those so everybody can provide comments in a public hearing setting, right, on what they like, what they don't like, whatnot. What?
The deadline, we'd like to ask everybody to have those comments in by the 10th so we can get them all organized and in front of the council by the 14th for that workshop.
Yep. So that'd be great. And what you'll see is you'll see comments that are the codes that are going to be looked at will be redlined with the suggested changes. So everybody can see what it was and what we're proposing it to be in the future, right? Once we update the new code, We have to pass that through an ordinance. And then I think it takes a few days or so, 30 days or something like that before it becomes active, right? So it doesn't mean that we can, once we pass it, it just automatically switches. There's a time period for it to be effective. Okay. Anything else on that?
The only thing I want to add when you talk about HOAs and police, so we can't enforce HOA rules. A lot of times we get called, let's say they allow chickens, the HOA doesn't. They'll call Star Police to come say, hey, they have chickens, I want them off. We can't do that. That's HOA rules, and that's more of a civil problem. We do criminal issues. So just to kind of put out there that if our deputies get there, we're more than happy to try to be that mediator between the two. But push come to shove, we can't enforce HOA rules. So.
Yep, but we can enforce speed limits through HOAs as long as it's not private roads. So if you have a private road in an HOA, the speed limits cannot be enforced by the police. Just so you're aware on that. Very important to know that. You have something to say there, Chief? Sorry.
I was just going to go back to the Highway 44 project that is completed. We do have an emergency signal that is been started in front of the fire station at 11665 West State Street. So you're going to see that happening for the next 60 days or so. They'll be putting up the emergency signal so we can get out easier.
Which is a welcome relief to get those fire trucks out on the road quicker to respond to these calls. Now, I will say the win also for this is it's actually sped up the response times with this widening and having the 5 lanes down on that segment on getting out east and west, which is great, right? Sorry, Ernest. Ernest is having to manually move his camera while I'm moving around, so I'll try to stay still for you. You have a question? Love it.
So back to Highway 44.
Mm-hmm.
Where are proposed stoplights yet to go in, and what kind of time frame is estimated for that?
Yeah, good question. So we, back about 3 years ago, I think we did a traffic study with ITD's traffic guys to see where we could warrant lights in the future. We do have a light proposed at Seneca Springs on 44. We do have a light at Moyle in 44, and we do have a light at Palmer in 44, down on the other side. The light at Palmer in 44, we are actually we have taken the lead. I've been working really hard with all 5 including Star agencies to get everybody to split the cost of that light, because we have the Star, I don't know what we call that, river line on the other side of Highway 16 and 44 behind the Eagle Christian Church. That's all Star. So we have all those residents trying to get on the road. So we're trying to take the lead on getting that light done where we all split that 5 ways. But we are going to take the lead on actually getting the construction done so we don't delay it. Right. So our whole goal is to get that going hopefully this next spring down there. The light at Highway 44 in Moyle is developer driven. That's actually, we have a meeting next week with ACHD because the developer over there with the apartments and the senior housing and the commercial over there, they're all required to put that light in. And they have the light designed. It's been in ITD and ACHD for approvals, but we're working with ACHD to figure out the timing of when they're requiring that light. We would like to see it sooner than later over there. The light at Seneca Springs, that's one that's probably quite a ways out. That's going to be development driven also for the most part on that northwest corner where O'Reilly's is. So all that commercial development there is paying money into getting that light done, and the city is probably going to have to pay for the rest of that to get that in. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to daisy chain those lights together, the Moyle, the Plummer, and the Seneca Springs, so they're all operating in unison, right? So you don't get ones turning red and green, and we get this backup and stuff. They're going to be operating in unison, so you get vehicles in and out, north, south, east, west, with those lights on there. So that's a good question on there. On the east side, or on the west side of town at Canita Road and Highway 44, that is slated to have a light. And with that development, Willowbrook, that we approved, the developer is required to put that light in. So we don't know what the timing is going to be. It's all going to be based on what they do with the development up there. And then every mile from there, we do, so Blessinger and Kingsbury will eventually have a light. That's in the master plan too, for that. Okay. You should just hold on to the microphone.
Sorry. So back on the lights, east of Moyle, which is the property that Larson is developing. Is there going to be another road that comes out there that you can only make a right turn on?
Yeah.
And it'll only have a stop sign? Not a
Yeah.
stop sign?
No light. Yeah. So it's going to be down past where the emergency, where the ambulance comes out, EMS, where that entrance is. It's going to be right in that location across from that, where there's going to be a right in, right out only thing. People will be able to access that development from there, but they'll only be able to take a right. Now, when that whole interchange gets done at 44 and 16, that changes the dynamics of everything right over there, right? I mean, you're going to have some, obviously it's going to go over, but you're going to have some lights to get people on and off on one side, and you'll have a quarter clover leaf on another, the way they have it. It's kind of crazy how they got it all designed over there for mobility on that. So with this widening project here, this is when they're supposed to get the pathway done and all the right-of-way purchased from Stillwater all the way to Highway 16, so we can connect to that as well. Yeah. Okay. What other things? We will do a, yes, ma'am.
This one also came up in the survey. This is a question for Chief Hessing, and I know you've addressed it in previous town halls, but maybe while we're doing Facebook Live, you could talk to golf carts in communities as well as UTVs.
Yes. This has been one we've talked about in the past, and I've done a lot of reading up about it. So the biggest issue with golf carts, there's three different areas when it comes to golf carts that are allowed on the road. And our legislation has changed a couple times throughout the years on allowing which ones could be on the road. The issue we have is identifying which ones. Let me explain that. So you have your side-by-sides, your razors. Those ones are pretty easy to tell what they are. They're usually gas-powered, and they'll do 55, 60 miles an hour down the road. The biggest issue, even though those ones I still would caution, make sure whoever's riding those on the roads to read the laws, make sure they have turn signals, they're license plated, they're registered and they're insured, and that the person driving it is a valid driver's license, somebody who has a valid driver's license. The bigger issue that we see within the neighborhoods of the areas are the difference between low speed vehicles and golf carts. So low speed vehicles are allowed to drive anything that's 25 miles an hour or lower. They can drive on the road, and they can have a license plate. They can be registered through the DMV. Golf carts cannot be registered through the DMV. However, because the golf cart's coming out with more power, the issue is that if you get a turn signal for it and you get a more powered golf cart, they are registering them with a license plate. And so the lines being blurred between which ones are allowed on the roads and which ones are not. But to come back to the biggest issue we have is parents allowing their young kids that are not have a driver's license driving these on the road. Even if it's a golf cart that's not registered, you still have to have a driver's license to drive that on a road. The big accidents that we've occurred, majority of them have to do with juveniles that usually have 5 or 6 piled onto one golf cart, and they're making a turn and it tips over. So there are 3 different classifications in those. Again, the side-by-side are the razors, the low-speed vehicles, and the golf carts. I talked to one gentleman who he has a golf cart that's been registered. And it's one of the ones that, because I know right on the DMV website, they say they don't register golf carts, but I'm talking to the gentleman who has it registered because he proved to them that it can go over certain miles an hour. I think it's 25. It can go over 25. It can be a low-speed vehicle. And he put a turn signal kit on it. And so he did get it registered. He likes to drive over to the golf course and golf over there. And so I just caution you again, you have to have a valid driver's license. So that means anybody that is under 15 years of age, that's the age when you get a driver's license in Idaho. Anybody under that that's driving it, not only can the kids be in trouble, but the parents can also be cited for allowing their kids to drive the golf carts because it is becoming an issue. We've had kids hurt. We've had adults that have also gone to the hospital and potentially not make it. So I do caution that whoever's driving these golf carts, make sure you read the rules, the laws. They have to have lights on them too if you're driving past a certain time of day. So all those things that it's your responsibility to read those, and we are out there looking for people who are violating that because of the people that have been hurt. And so we're trying to keep them safe. Do you mind if I take a second and answer back to that Heron River question?
Sure.
So I found the answer to that.
Look at that, see?
So it bothered me enough that I ended up texting to see what it was, and I found what it was. So the domestic was just a verbal argument. No one was arrested. There was nothing really big about that call except that we just got there immediately, kind of mediated between the two, and everything was fine. At the same exact time, we did have we call a DOA call. So it's a welfare check where somebody was somebody that was deceased. We have a drone pilot that actually is in North County and Eagle area that we borrowed over to fly a drone around. I think he might have been there for the domestics at first. We weren't sure what was going on. But during all the same time, he flies his drone, it loses connection, and it flies away to a spot where we had to look around for it. So it was kind of a perfect storm between all three that ended up being a weird type of call. So it wasn't anything that was ever a danger to the public, but something that on the deceased call that we went to, we weren't sure exactly what that one was about. So anytime we were going to an area, we try to keep people out until we know it's safe for them. And then the domestic situation was actually nothing that was a big issue. So hopefully that kind of answers it.
Look at that. Answers. And it looks like there's another question on Ernest's page, on the chatter page. It says, how many houses were approved with Willowbrook, and is Canada going to be widened? So there was 1,000 houses approved on Willowbrook on 736 acres or something like that up there. Canada is going to be widened as part of the approval process. That developer is going to have to do all of the road improvements required even off-site of Ada County Highway District, Idaho Transportation Department, and Canyon Highway District. So there is a lot of road improvements, not just Canada, that are going to have to be done. So that's the answer to that question there on that. So you have that. Do you have another one there, Ryan?
No, I was just going to state, Mr. Mayor, so 1,000 was approved. What was their initial proposal, and how did the council whittle that down?
So the 1,000 was originally approved, or not, 1,000 was approved. There at one point in 2018 had almost 4,000 units up there in the foothills. So it got whittled down over a long period of time with workshops, talking with the different agencies, in workshops that are all recorded. You can watch them online and whatnot. I mean, we had everybody involved with that, right? We had not just roads, but we had roads, we had sewer, we had water, we had electrical, we had Intermountain Gas, we even had Republic Services or trash, right? We had everybody involved with this process to determine what was the most feasible outcome of that project up there. Yeah. So, okay. Any other questions? This is good because questions are good.
So this one kind of pertains to the city park.
Mm-hmm. Which
and
one?
Like the
Freedom Park?
and the Star River Walk.
Uh-huh.
So how far down is the Star River Walk going to go? And will it like abruptly end? Will it link into like river access? Then on the other side, between the end of Heron River and Highway 16, that piece of land, there have been some designs, I guess, out there that had actually shown a pathway that might have had been an easement, maybe across like or near Lover's property that kind of went to
Livers. Yeah,
that
yeah,
kinda
Richard.
went to the east and then it
Yeah.
went to the south. So what's the feasibility of that happening? And then after I had another question regarding the city parks.
You want me to answer? Let me answer
Sure.
this one real quick first. So on Freedom Park over there, there is a portion that is Heron River HOA over there on the what is on the southeast side of remember whose house that is over there. That'll be fenced off. So people can't traverse back there in the general public, right? But what we did do this last year, we got a grant from the state that allowed us to do a study on where we can put a river crossing, pedestrian river crossing over there off of Freedom Park. So that eventually the river walk's going to tie into this pedestrian crossing that's going to go across into the BLM lands over there. And then it's going to run the entirety from there all the way to Highway 16 on the south side of the river. And then come back across with another river crossing and then connect to the Greenbelt system that we already have established on that side. And so none of this is going to run that way through the HOA property. It's going to make a turn eventually, right? The Lubers property, I think he came in, that was one of the ones that was denied there a while ago, right? It's our desire to utilize the canal banks that we can to create even more pathways and connections. And we're doing that all over town right now. We actually have we're working on our costs, right? We already selected a contractor to put our master pathways plan together. We got agreements signed with the ditch and irrigation companies to be able to utilize their banks of their canals and drainage ditches for these pathways. So it's our desire to do a connection throughout the city. Now, at some point, it's going to connect right to the Huron River. I think it runs along the same canal that's over there by the Lubers side, right? And when that all develops over there, there's going to be a connection point, which is going to probably have a private property sign unless Huron River is willing to allow people to connect there, to get connection all throughout the city on there. So I think I hope that answers your question on that. And then what's your other question on the parks?
So as far as the city parks, what's the status of the parks? And once the park is done, will there be rules as it applies to, say, fishing times, months,
No,
anything like that? Or
no. So here's the thing. So Freedom Park is a city park. It'll be open. There will be times just like any other park, right? I think we have dusk to dawn on that. However, we do have a river that has duck hunters and stuff that utilize that. They're not going to be limited to go out there at dawn. They go out there typically earlier in the morning to set up. Okay. Fishing stuff on the dock, we'll have to discuss that. I mean, you got to remember the fishing game is stocking it with public money. And so it's public fishing. It's a public fishing water, which fishing game allows people to fish at night in public fishing waters. Okay. So that's going to be something we're going to have to figure that out on there. The access to that park, we bought that property north of the River House this last year. It came up for sale, so we purchased it to add more parking, so we could double our parking on this side. And then there, what is that? Breakwater? What's that? Is that breakwater that comes in with the paved pathway or the paved roadway? Yeah. So there is a little small 12 or 15 stall parking area right there on that side of the park as well. Otter Rock. It's Otter Rock. You're right. Yeah, Otter Rock, not Breakwater. Thank you. And that's where we're going to have another little parking spot right there as well on that. You won't be able to drive vehicles back there. It's going to be all bollarded off. The only ones that'll be able to drive back there will be the fishing game, Star maintenance, and then the emergency services folks, because they all will have a special key that drops those bollards if they have to get back there on that.
will there be any rules for like fishing? Swimming?
Nope.
Like,
just don't dive off.
swim at night?
For what now?
Can you swim at night?
Well, that's the thing. We're going to have to see right now. You can't swim. You can't go into our parks after dusk. We're going to have to figure this out because what happens? People go in there and want to fish, and the fishing game allows people in their regulations to fish after dark. We're going to have to figure this. That's part of the aspect we're going to have to figure out. Now, the rules as far as swimming goes, there's no jumping off the shade structure that's out there. We put signs up. Next week, the dock, we got a new dock built with a diving platform off of it to put out there for people to jump off of. If kids are going to do it, we're going to just give them a spot to do it so they don't kill themselves ignoring that rule and getting up there to dive on that. We had the Ada County Sheriff's dive team actually go out there and do a big old circle dive out there, make sure we didn't have any rebar sticking up or anything like that for kids that want to swim and dive in that. That water gets checked every week. We actually have some of the cleanest water believe it or not, around the valley in there. And you're like, well, why do you guys keep, DEQ asked us, why do you keep paying the money to check it? Because we want to make certain, right? But if they don't have, it's so low that it doesn't have all the challenges you see, like when you have Sandy Point or Quinn's Pond or anything like that over there, which is nice to see.
Originally, I think the plans included a dog area for the water. Is that still in the plans or?
That's still in the plan. There is that one section that has a dog area, but we're going to discuss that too. I mean, in reality, you're not going to keep your dog in that one spot. There's no way. Especially you throw them out in the water. They can swim anywhere in the water, right? And that. So we're going to have some discussions about that as we get closer to that. We're hoping that opens up well, it'll be open in the spring, but all the grass won't be growing by then because it's going to get planted in the spring. We're not planting the grass until that time frame. I think right now they're actually doing the concrete out there, the concrete pathways that are going around it and down to the water. So, yes, ma'am.
Speaking of pathways, can you talk about the safe route to the middle school?
Yes. So we've got a grant that we were working on a couple of years ago, and it came to us earlier this year, which was surprised us because it was like we thought it was dead in the water. But we did budget money in our plan to get a pathway built to the middle school from Floating Feather, and it's going right on the edge of the Star Cemetery property and the two developments that are there that were approved. Star Cemetery has been awesome in working with us on this. So this actually, we budgeted $600,000 to get this pathway done, and it's going to cost us maybe $40,000 total because of the grant monies that we received and because of what the developer up there is going to do to tile that ditch. We didn't have to tile it because they're taking care of that cost, the tile that, which was going to be a big expense for us on that. So hopefully, and it's supposed to be done by January, and so this will provide us an opportunity to get the kids off of the roads there and get back straight into the school instead of walking around on the roads on Pollard. So that's a good thing. Yeah, that's a win. Because we did have some kids hit, believe it or not, on Floating Feather over there. So getting them off that street is best.
Speaking of Floating Feather, Mayor, what is the plans for Floating Feather?
Oh,
16.
to open it up? You mean to open it up? So we're waiting. So Toll Brothers was required to build that new segment of Floating Feather from Pollard all the way to Highway 16. And they got all their work done out there on Highway 16, got it striped. ACHD's come back and asked them to add some more lights and outside originally what they were supposed to do and add more striping and stuff. So it's another 3 weeks before they open that segment up. Once that gets opened up, you'll probably see relief downtown here from Star Citizens trying to go up Plummer Road or Star Road because they could be able to go 16 and go straight into that and head down Floating Feather. So that'll be a good thing when that happens. It's only a right in, right out, left in. You won't be able to go straight across Highway 16 on that anymore. Thank goodness, right? I mean, that's dangerous on there. I just encourage everybody to go use Beacon Light, the light at Beacon Light Road, right? Just be safe and utilize the light on there. Any more questions online, Ernest? None? Dana? No? Cool. You guys, the ladies have any more questions? You can always come up with questions. We got a few minutes. If not, we'll be done here pretty earlier. No? All right. Well, we do appreciate everybody, and the chiefs are always available for if you guys have questions about what's happening in the city. I mean, we've got a pretty awesome public safety team here. Between the Star Fire District and Star Police, they do a really good job for us as a community. So just keep supporting them, and just I just want to remind everybody. I was going to remind everybody. This coming Tuesday is election day. If you missed out today, you got 7 more minutes. The mobile trailer's here for 7 more minutes. The chief's in here so you could speed if you need to get there. Okay, kidding. So go out there and vote. The Star's been we've been a really good city for a long time on high voter turnout. Let's just keep it that way. That's important, right? To exercise your right to vote. So, all right. Ernest, anything from you?
I just appreciate being here.
Okay. Ms. Dana?